Record. All right, Sarah, welcome. Welcome. So, can you give the podcast of who you are and what do you do?
Absolutely. I am a real estate investor and a real estate coach, and I have been nomadic since January 2019.
Nice, nice. And whenever people hear nomadic, they think of like, oh, they are probably or just homeless or whatever, right? That's what whenever I hear it, or like anybody else, they're like, oh, you're probably a monk, right? Or something like that. What is your definition of being nomadic?
Yeah, absolutely. My friends like to call me the homeless homeowner. I don't think it has a good ring to it on my dating profile, so I removed it. And basically, I am always traveling. I live out of a suitcase. I can go anywhere, anytime, whenever I want.
Nice, nice. So
Yeah.
what got you started in real estate? Uh like what was your first job and how'd you encounter that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, when I was 16, I was the receptionist at a real estate brokerage. And it wasn't until almost 10 years later that I bought my first property. And so a lot happened in between there. But I think I met someone who was buying property, renovating it while she was living in it, and then selling it for a profit or keeping it as a rental property. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that too.
Okay. And now when you first got your property, were you house hacking it or what were you doing with that first property?
Yes, my first three properties were all house hacks. So I bought them with low down, owner occupied loans, put in a lot of sweat equity. And then it wasn't until recently that I started buying other stuff.
Nice. Oh, so recently. Okay. And how long did it take you to scale from that first property to that second I guess like every year you can house hack, but after that third property you house hacked, well, what happened to the fourth property or the fifth? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
how long did it take you to scale from to there?
Yeah. So here's kind of my timeline. I bought a single family in 2017. I bought a duplex in 2019. And then all of 2020, I wrote offer after offer. I even went under contract a couple times, but nothing was sticking until I got under contract on a fourplex in May of 2021. And so then I bought a fourplex with and another fourplex, a duplex and a duplex, which meant I went from 3 to 15 units in less than 90 days.
Wow, that's crazy. And people are thinking, how did you put like down payments in each one of them? Like can you speak about like how the use of leverage is on those?
Absolutely. So the first house hack was a $7,000 down payment. The second house hack was a $5,000 down payment. And keep in mind there were 2 years in between that. And so I hope that if I'm investing in real estate, I can save $5,000 in 2 years. Then the next one was a year and a half later, and my down payment was $12,000. And then after that, the next properties required 20% down. And so I used hard money and private money. So I actually used zero of my own money for the next two deals. And then the deal after that and any subsequent deals, I've used equity partners where they bring the down payment and I find and manage the deal.
Nice. Now with the hard money loans, right? A lot of people find that difficult. Do you refinance and use the Burr method on those or
That's what I did. Yep.
nice? And what would you say your biggest advantage is in investing in real estate?
Connections. I think
Connections.
my ability to make connections with people and then leverage those relationships has been my definitely led to my success.
Okay. And what because I get a lot of people like say they want to invest in a real estate, but they're kind of like distraught at the opinion on like you got to pay for repairs, you got to save for I forget what the word is, but you basically got to save money to repair for the HVAC for a roof. And they're like, okay, so if I'm going to make passive income, right, for that property, doesn't that passive income just go away if I got to repair for the property? Like, what would you say to those that have that type of mindset?
And real estate investing probably isn't for them.
Nice.
So I think that it's really important that you understand what investing is and what investing isn't. Like investing isn't putting your investing in real estate is not putting your down payment and then sitting it and forgetting it. you are buying a property and houses are going to break down. Even new builds are going to have, or new construction homes are going to have problems. Um, Plumbing breaks, electricity breaks, things break, tenants break things. And so, of course, there's going to be costs that come up. Somebody has to mow the lawn and keep the house from falling down, and that costs money.
Yes. And do you see yourself like um do you see yourself losing most of your passive income towards that, or do you find like it's a bigger advantage to you for like uh appraising or for your taxes? Like what do you see in that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to buy really good deals. And so the properties that I buy cash flow a lot. And it's easy to make money on real estate when you buy good deals.
Nice. And what's the biggest challenge you face while you've been investing in real estate?
Um, Dealing with tenants.
Tenants. Okay. Now, question, you whenever you say you're traveling all the time, right? Is there any properties that you manage yourself now, or is it mostly you give it to your property managers?
I manage all of my properties.
Oh no. How do you manage that? How do you do that?
It's not easy, and I don't recommend it. And so I have systems in place. So I have a unit that's vacant right now where I need a tenant to move in, and so I hired a property manager just for tenant placement. And so they will find the tenant, but I handle the management from there. And then I have 8 of my 19 units are what's called medium term rentals. So they're furnished just like an Airbnb or VRBO,
For like 90
but
days?
but they're staying more than 30 days.
Yeah.
And so they are traveling nurses typically, or corporate housing or people in between, whatever it might be. And they don't require showings.
Okay. And for that, do you make for those midterm rentals? Do you people say, are they kind of like Airbnb? Are they like Airbnb, or do you make the same amount of money with long-term rentals?
No, you make more money than long-term rentals. And depending on the property, you might make more than a short-term rental as well.
Okay. How many properties did it take for you to reach financial freedom?
Four,
Four.
five, maybe five.
Okay. Because a lot of
And
people they,
and let me be really clear on like what financial freedom is, like just your bare minimum.
Mhm.
Like that's a big difference than like the lifestyle that you should and want to be living.
I guess what paid for your lifestyle? How many properties would that take?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I mean, I'm hoping the goal is to have it be as little properties as possible or as
Yeah.
few properties as possible. But I would want 20,000 a month in cash flow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you invest in any commercial properties right now?
No, not yet.
Not yet. See. And for the how much reserves do you keep for your properties? Or are they all
Um,
different?
yeah, I mean, as you start getting more, I don't think like 6 months of PITI makes sense for all properties.
Yeah.
But that's a good number to start with when you have four or less properties.
Gotcha. And with these properties, like did did you ever have like a headache with any of them? Like was your first property more of a headache than any of your other ones? Or like how does the
No,
mindset flow with
no.
each one?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I don't think so. I think that like no, my first one's like one of my best properties. It's one of my properties that just always has a bunch of plumbing issues. And
Sheesh.
there was nothing we could have known from the inspection. Like there's nothing I could have done differently. It's just a run of bad luck and the curse of buying these old multifamilies. But yeah, the plumbing issues on that property are probably the most annoying thing.
Okay. And there's a lot of people that are like, 18, right? They're about to they had that mindset where they got to go to college or they're never going to become anything, right? What
Mhm.
advice would you give to those 18-year-olds that are probably listening to this right now?
Yeah, get really good at three things. Get really good at negotiating, finding deals, and analyzing deals.
Okay. And why would you say negotiating?
Everything in life is a negotiation. Dating's a negotiation. Talking to your mother is negotiating. Getting a raise with your boss is negotiating. Everything in life is a negotiation.
Yeah. And if someone asked you, if an 18-year-old asked you, hey, I don't know what to do with my life, right? I could either go to the college route, the military route, uh, or I can get certifications. I am just confused on what to do. Should I dabble into everything, or how would how would you basically tell them like, hey, you're gonna build these skills, but they're like, hey, but what can I put a use to them though? Like, do it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I love the idea of earning while you're learning. And so get a job. Like, for example, I got a job in real estate investing so that I could learn about real estate investing. And so if there's something that an 18-year-old is interested in, like try to make money while learning about it. And then I recently met someone and he has the ability to go to college like at someone else's expense. And I said, just go for 1 year, like live the college life. I know not every 18-year-old needs the advice to like let loose and have some fun,
Yeah,
but there's some 18-year-olds out there that are just like full of anxiety and
yeah,
working way too hard. Frankly, like go have some fun. Like college is meant to be enjoyed. Don't get anyone pregnant and don't do
yeah,
anything wrong. Don't hurt anyone, but enjoy your life. And I think that if that goes on for 5 or 6 years, then you have a problem. But my advice to a lot of 18-year-olds is like have some fun. Like you have your whole life ahead of you to be stressed out about things.
yeah. A lot of young people, they don't really see it that way. They're like, I gotta grow up fast, right? I gotta have that working hard mentality, right? Because they're scrolling through Instagram, they see all these people succeeding, I guess, in their mindset they're succeeding, but
Yeah.
they're seeing all these models, all this stuff, and they're like, hey, I gotta get to that top, but they don't experience the present time. Is there any have you ever been in that situation where you're like, okay, I gotta step away from the social media life and start living life? When did that occur to you to like start traveling and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. One you brought up a really good point though. I think it's really important that um you also learn how to save money.
Yeah.
I think like living below your means is crucial. And so, especially when you're not making a lot of money. And so that would probably be my fourth skill set that I would recommend. And then as far as the social media or even like the lifestyle creep is what I'm calling it now. I think you have to be really self-aware about what's important to you. Like just because Joe down the street is interested in that thing doesn't mean that you actually even want that or that it would bring you any joy whatsoever. Whereas for me, I always knew that traveling was going to bring me joy more than like an extra pair of shoes.
Mhm.
And so therefore I spend all my money on travel.
Okay. And with traveling, how would you recommend like these guys? They're everybody, every young person who wants to travel, right? I want to go
Yeah.
to Rome. I want to go to Mexico. I want to go everywhere, right? What kind of travel tips do you have for anybody that wants to travel?
Yeah. So I bought a one-way ticket from Chicago to Dublin when I was 19. I'm going to age myself. I bought it at the library, not on my phone, which is what I do now, you guys. I'm not like
Okay,
an old
okay.
lady. Okay. But yeah, I bought that plane ticket. And I don't think it was until I was boarding the plane that I realized, oh my God, I've never done this before. Like I've never been to a foreign country. Obviously, I'm smart, so I did have a passport for
Yeah.
anyone worried about that. But yeah, I just bought the plane ticket and then you figure out everything else as you go. Like the lucky thing now when we travel, like I can literally book a flight, hotel, and rental car all from my phone, like as I'm Ubering to the airport, which I also ordered on my phone. And so there's really no excuse to not just buying the plane ticket.
Yeah. Is there any travel hacks that you do while you're out there? Like people say it's a lot, it's like way expensive to live over there or over here. Do you do anything that to save that money while you're over there?
Yeah. Oh gosh, man. When I was younger, I did like crazy things. Like I would like have peanut butter sandwiches and then I'd like only go to the bar during happy hour, but I'd go to like the gas station and buy alcohol on the way there. I like would when I lived in Korea, I would have this bottle of the equivalent of like Gatorade. I'd like drink some of it and then I'd pour an entire bottle of soju in it. And that would be like my drink for the entire night. So I wouldn't have to spend any money. Times have changed. There's no like Gatorade bottle in my purse today. But yeah, there were things that I was doing to save money that were absolutely crazy and they worked. And so I was staying in hostels. I was like exchanging work for accommodation at different places. if you want to travel long term, like you have to get really scrappy.
Yeah. And do you have any like credit card tips? Do you use any? I know there's a lot of um credit card like hacks that you can do. Do you do any of those as well?
I do. Oh yeah, I do all the all the credit card hacks.
Can you
I wouldn't say
can you
yeah, I
explain?
wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I can definitely give you like an arching overview.
Go
So for
ahead.
those of you that don't know, like credit card hacking is when you open a credit card that likely has a really great sign-on bonus. So for example, I just opened one that was if I spent $15,000, which don't get me wrong, you guys, like that's a lot of money. But I booked this accommodation here in Guatemala for not much less than that. And if you've spent $15,000 in 3 months, you got 100,000 airline miles. If I use 100,000 airline miles really smart, that's like at least 2 round trip tickets. And so you're getting free flights just by opening credit cards. And then you also earn points or miles every time you purchase something. And so I have different credit cards for every different thing. So, like my cell phone goes on a credit card where I get 5% back or 5 points for every dollar. I have one where that's anytime I eat it at a restaurant, I get 2 points. So I put all my restaurants on that credit card. That way, every dollar that I ever spend is giving me points or airline miles.
Nice. And what are your favorite types of credit cards you like would you recommend?
Yeah, I would always start out with the Chase Sapphire Preferred for those of you that aren't traveling like fully. And then when you do start traveling as much as I do, you want to upgrade to the Chase Sapphire Reserve so you can start getting some access to the lounges. That was always really fun, you guys, because I would have the credit card that would get me into the lounge, which is like mostly business travelers. And I'm like living out of my carry on backpack and I'm like eating all the food and all the drinks because I don't want to spend money at the airport.
And whenever you go to these countries, is it harder to like learn to before I go for that, Josh here has a question. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, so I have two questions actually. One question, have you ever been to Iceland and what was it like? And the second one, as a woman traveling around the world, how has that affected your experience?
Good
Yeah.
questions.
Oh, great question. So that's so funny that you talk about Iceland because I was just invited. I have not been because in my mind, I've been waiting for a group of friends to go rent a car, have like this epic road trip through Iceland. And I just got invited to go to Iceland in November. But part of me is like, do you really want to go to the winter in the winter? And so but I think, Josh, I think maybe this was a sign from the universe that I should book that
That's
flight
pretty awesome. That's
because I
pretty
haven't
awesome.
been. Yeah. And then as a woman, that's a great question. So I think it's really important for anyone traveling alone to really pay attention to your intuition. Like you guys all have probably heard a terrible story, and it almost always starts off with, I had a bad feeling, and then I got hit over the head with a baseball bat. Like I had like the hair on my neck lit up, like I had a bad feeling and so what I do is when I have a bad feeling, like I pay attention to that. Like sometimes you guys, like I get a bad feeling and I am running away. Like, yes, I have actually like sprinted away from a club or a party or whatever because I got that feeling like something bad was going to happen. And I think paying attention to that, boy or girl, like that's so important. And then you just have to be really mindful. Like, don't put yourself into really bad situations until you know the culture, you know the area, you know how to get home if your phone dies. Those things are just really important.
Every time I think of traveling, right? When I was a kid, like the dangers of traveling, I guess it's my parents' fault because I watched Taken, right? And I was like, why this happens whenever you visit Paris or any like country like that? No, I'm not going anywhere. But
Can you imagine how many times people ask that? They're like, have you seen the movie Taken? And I'm like, have you like walked anywhere in Texas? Like everyone has a gun. Like
that is true.
I'm gonna
And
be fine.
whenever you visit these countries, how do you feel like do you feel like you should I know whenever I travel, right? I'm like, and I come back to the US, I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. But it's like, uh, it's not like it's just how like the people are, right? They're over there, they're probably more like healthy, they're more sociable, or like they're just the environment's just way better. How do you how do you like basically put that aside and still keep traveling to different locations or like not be picky on like staying in one location for a long time?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much we can unpack there. I did spend a lot of my like early 20s being really angry at America and like only seeing the bad.
Hmm.
Because but also I had to remember like when I go to another country, oftentimes I'm on vacation. Like I'm not having to pay their taxes or answer to their, I mean, obviously normal laws, but all the other implications that make a country complicated. And so I think it's really easy to dislike your own country, especially when it's the US. But I realized really quickly that one, that's not attractive. Like to be a bitter American is not a
Yeah.
good look on anyone, and it was not going to get me to where I'm going. And so it was really important for me to understand the great things about the United States. And I'll give you two things that really helped me get over that. One is that my parents don't have college degrees and they have made a fine living for themselves. They're very happy. They sent me and my brother to great schools that are public schools. I was able to get an almost full ride to university. And now I am able to buy real estate for sometimes 0, 3, or 5% down. Almost all of those things that I just mentioned are impossible in so many different countries.
Yeah. And do you invest in any other countries as well?
Not yet, but I
Not
will.
yet. Okay. What country would you pick to invest in?
I mean, if I had to pick today without doing like more extensive research, I would buy something in Mexico.
Okay.
They're building a train like on the Yucatan coast, and I think that will absolutely explode with tourism. So I would buy something there, and then I would love to buy something in Lisbon, Portugal, and get a residency visa and drink port wine and listen to fado music and fall in love with a Portuguese man.
Yeah. And Sami here has a question. Go ahead.
Hey, Sami.
Hey, so I have two questions. So when you were talking about credit cards, right? Do you like actively look for credit cards with those deals, or do you just like find it along the way? And my other question was, do you only invest in like credit cards from America, or do you invest in credit cards from like other countries since you travel a lot?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So I use a resource called the Points Guy. He is, I think, an absolute expert in credit card. There's no reason for me to spend hours on end studying when he's done all the work for me. And so I refer to the Points Guy for almost any credit card decision that I make. He hasn't steered me wrong yet. And then I haven't opened up a credit card in any other country. I have had a bank account in another country, but I have not had a credit card.
You should also look into Ask Sebi. He's also another guy that talks about credit cards and points wise too. Those two,
Excellent.
yeah, they're like the rivals, I guess, in like the credit card industry. I don't know industry, but the YouTube credit card guys, and it's pretty
Cool. I'll
funny to
check
see
it
them.
out.
Yeah, and
Uh, Wait, could I ask? Is it
yeah,
because you don't invest in credit cards in other countries because you feel like they're not secure, or is it because you think you don't know enough information, type of
Yep.
thing?
I haven't even looked into it. And so this is probably the first I've been asked that.
whenever you travel to these countries, right, Sarah? What do you plan on doing in those countries? Do you do the same thing that you would like in Japan that you would in Guatemala, or like what is your mindset whenever you go to a different country?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think at the beginning, when I first started traveling, I was picking countries that I wanted to visit because of food and culture or like tourist destinations. Now I have the pleasure of I get to choose places where I know people. And so I have a lot of friends all over the world, and I oftentimes get to visit them. So that's been kind of determining my travels as of recently. And then it also depends on like the season. So right now I'm working a lot more than I want to be. And I need strong Wi-Fi. And so frankly, that like dictates a lot of the places that I have to go. It has to be a good setup for doing exactly this, like spending a few hours on my computer.
Yeah. And what's your recommendation on like making friends in like different countries, and or you might have like a language barrier, but you're still trying to, I guess, be friendly, or if they have like they know some English, they have an accent, but it's like it shows that you're from a different country and they're from that country. How do you still bond? Like what kind of activities do you do with these random people that makes you know
Yeah.
friends?
Well, it's so interesting that you brought that up because it is wild. Like the bonds that you have with people when you're traveling is so deep because you cut out all the small talk. You're like, listen, we're only probably going to be together for a couple days. And so you like cut straight to like, let's be either great friends or we're never going to see each other again. And so I meet a lot of people from different meetup groups. So a lot of times if I know I'm going to be spending a significant amount of time in a country, I will look up like Mexico City expats. And then I will like comment in there like, hey, I'm going to be in town for a month. Anyone want to meet up for a drink? Or I'll see on there, like Mexico City is a great example because they have tons of cultural activities. So they do like a language exchange in a couple different locations every Monday and Tuesday. They do like a game night where they actually like play board games on Thursdays. And then of course there's dancing and drinking and fun things on the weekends as well. And it's all posted in the Facebook group.
Yeah. And whenever you're, what does your schedule look like now that you like, what do you spend most of your time doing while like, whether now or like what your regular day would look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, my ideal travel day, or like when I'm abroad, I should say, is like a slow morning with a great coffee. I like take my journal either to a view or to a coffee shop, and then I try to stack my meetings like in a 4 hour window. So if I'm having meetings, like this morning, I had a meeting about a project that I'm working on. I had a couple coaching calls. I coach real estate agents and real estate investors, so I had those calls today. um, I had a sales call. I own a company where we furnish Airbnbs all over the country. And so I had a sales call with one of my new projects. All of that was via Zoom, which is great because you don't need to worry about like your cell phone not working in a different country. You just have to have Wi-Fi. And then I'll spend my evenings hopefully like going out to dinner with friends or having like a relaxing night in. But I do try to keep some structure to my weekdays. And then on the weekends, I really want to enjoy something that I can't do other places. So this weekend we'll probably go on a sunset hike or go, there's a nod to Hobbiton, like Lord of the Rings here
Yeah.
in Guatemala, which I think sounds hilarious. And people said it's really silly. So we'll probably go do that on Saturday.
Nice. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's gonna
Uh,
be fun.
well, for the younger guys, right, or the audience, what do you think? What action would you say that they can take now that will pay big dividends for their future?
I think learning how to save money is like the biggest thing. And
Yeah.
so I want you guys to realize that like I was living off of $1,000 a month when I was in Southeast Asia and South America. And so if you look at your bank account right now and you have $5,000, cool. Like sell all of your belongings, sell your kids, sell your car, and go abroad for 5 months. Like it's so rad. And in what other time in your life are you gonna have an opportunity to do that?
Nice. And when you say traveling, right? What's the biggest thing you learn while you've been traveling? Like, do you ever get it where it's like, does it feel the same? Does it feel like, oh, it's getting kind of boring now that you're traveling to these different countries? Or is it like, you know what, it's always exciting no matter where I go?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. That's a super insightful question. Um, when you're in a place like, okay, here's an example. In New Zealand, I've spent like over like 2 years in New Zealand in total. And I could never see another waterfall for the rest of my life and I would be okay. Like I'm at some point you're like waterfalled out, right? That's how you feel when you're there. But then like 3 months later, you go to another waterfall, either in the same country or in another country, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the best waterfall I've ever seen. And so absolutely, you get sick of things. Like I lived in South Korea for a year. I taught English. That's another really good thing. If you have no idea what you want to do with your life, go teach English abroad. You make
Wow.
great money and you get to live abroad.
Do you need a degree or
Um,
any certificate for that?
you do. Well, I should say you do for certain countries. So in Korea, you have to be a native English speaker and have a college degree, but it can be a college degree in anything.
Yeah.
But in other countries like Thailand and Vietnam, you don't necessarily have to meet those qualifications.
Oh, okay.
But you don't get paid as much. And
Yeah.
so it's a trade-off. But yeah, if you spend a year in Korea, like you don't really want to eat rice for breakfast like ever again.
And do you have any regrets that you think you made, whether it's like doing college or whether it's like traveling to a certain country? Any regrets at all?
Oh, that's a good question. I think not prioritizing my health. I think because I've been on the move and like backpacking the way that I have, like having structure and like good habits around like eating and exercising has been really hard. And if I could do it all over again, I would have learned how to do that when I was 20 and like stayed fit rather than like letting things go and now having to like in retrospect have to go back and fix it.
Yeah. I guess like having a healthier life. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things. Uh, I know, you know, a guy named Alex Felice.
Yes.
Yes. So I go to the meetups with him, and he talked. We send each other messages saying like, he says there's three things that you should have. You should have something that follows your passion, right? In a
Mhm.
way, something that makes you money, and something that makes you have good health, right?
Yes.
And I agree with all three of those things. Like, you should always try to strive for something that makes you healthy, makes you do something for fun, right? Doesn't have to be something that makes you money, but something fun and something that actually makes you money. And speaking of money, uh, for businesses, right? You opened a lot, right? You say you have a furnished uh, type of business for your Airbnbs.
Yep.
Um, what advice would you give for the younger audience that are trying to start up a business? They're like, should I get an LLC? Uh, should I get a business loan? How does getting a business loan work? Like, what do I need?
Mhm. Yeah. You need a really good idea. So you need something that's actually going to solve problems for people. And so I posted photos of one of my Airbnbs and I had furnished it in Nebraska from New Zealand. And people said, "Oh my God, how did you do that? Would you do that for me?" And at first I said, no. But then I was like, wait, what would an entrepreneur do? And I said, okay, an entrepreneur would figure out how to do this. And so first I tested the market. I like posted on Instagram that I now offered this service. And to my surprise, I got 2 clients. And so then
Nice.
it's like, okay, I better figure out how to actually make this a business. And so I had served 5 clients before I had a website or named the company, and we still don't have a logo. Oh yeah, and we still don't have a website. And we've done 19 units in 9 states.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so you don't have a logo, you don't have a website, but
Not because I don't want them, you guys. Like I'm not
yeah.
an idiot. It's just that I'm also trying to like do all these other things and enjoy my life. And so if anyone wants to trade services, if someone wants to make me a logo,
Hey,
I will I'll exchange services. I'll give free coaching.
there you go. Anybody here who are like these guys, anybody can reach out to your Instagram.
Absolutely.
I'll put the link in the description. And again, I tell everybody like this, right? You can work for free. You can do any like just like present yourself like with giving something first, right?
Yes.
So if I see that you need a website, a logo, and either I don't know how to make a graphic design or I don't know how to basically do what you need, I could still being an entrepreneur, I could probably find someone that could do it for
Hmm.
you because it's all about connections, right? And you can be the wholesaler, right? I
Yes.
I
Life is all about connections.
yeah, I hate wholesaling, right? But whenever I think of the skills that wholesaling needs, you just got to be the middleman, right? If you could be
Yep.
the middleman in anything, right? Like for you example, right? You probably for your the middleman for you could be like you own a house and someone needs to live there, so you're the one that brings them together. As simple as that.
Exactly.
And there's someone that wants to start like what is you would you recommend a LLC or would you say to hold on to that if they're just a sole proprietor? I don't know how to say the word.
Yeah. That's such a that's an attorney question. I mean, there's no right answer for every person in this room, depending on their business, what state they live in, how much money they have. And so unfortunately you do have to consult with either a CPA or an attorney.
Yeah, that's a and who's on your team right now? If I like would I know I would guess an attorney, a real estate agent, who else would be on your team?
Yeah, so I have amazing real estate agents. Those are the ones that find me the deals. I have a virtual assistant who helps me with tasks here and there. I have an executive assistant. I have a business partner in 2 of my businesses. And so we're always like brainstorming other ideas and dividing tasks and conquering things. And then you're right, I have a CPA. I have a real estate attorney. I have my bookkeeper and I think that's it. Now I need a marketing person.
Nice. A marketing person. I would recommend, for me, it does the same thing. And then I think someone told me to get like a marketing management company to help you out.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing I'll look forward to that because I don't like dabbling. I hate going on Instagram or any other social media because makes my mindset a little sad, I guess, whenever I see like, not that some other people might be doing better, just that it doesn't relate to me for some occasions. Like every time I see Mike Tyson, I swear, I'm like, yeah, I know he's buff. I know he's probably bigger. Like I probably can't get that, but but it's about like comparing yourself, right? That's what for the younger generation now, they don't see that. They keep comparing themselves to like other
Yeah.
people and
Then I actually have advice for this. So my advice is every quarter go and do like a social media purge and like stop following people that don't make you feel good about yourself. And it's amazing how like just curating your own like feed and social media, next thing you know, like my entire like Instagram is just travel, like mindset and real estate investing. There's
yeah,
there's no one that I follow that like makes me feel like worse about myself anymore. But trust me,
no,
I felt that way for a long time.
yeah. I guess a lot of people they don't speak about it, but it happens. They just brush it away.
Yeah.
And uh, going with the real estate, right? So with your expenses, do you usually leverage them out too? Like, let's say you need an HVAC or a roof repairman, right? And let's say the company you're trying to get the equipment from or the product from, do you try to leverage that out too, or do you try to pay it whole if you have the cash already?
Yeah. Usually I just want to, I want less admin and administrative like things to do in my life. And so I'll just pay it in full.
Okay, nice. And what's your advice on those that already have like a third or fourth real estate property, but they're trying to get loans for more, but it's just harder and harder, and
Yeah.
it gives them like a harder time to like scale up.
Yeah, absolutely. They might need to start looking at partnerships or even selling some of their like poor performing properties and doing a 1031 exchange.
Mhm.
You also can do lines of credit on the equity in your like previous properties. And if hopefully you have enough, then you can put that money together and purchase your next property.
Nice. And would you say you're in that situation, or would you say you're pretty good off and like you just try to use OPM or because I know you said you use OPM on like your newer properties and you try to manage them right now, correct?
Yeah. So where I'm at right now is I don't qualify for a conventional loan because I just became a 1099 in October. And so, meaning I left my W 2 job and now I work for myself, I'm self employed.
Mhm.
And so the conventional lenders, they don't like that. And so I have to have 2 years of tax returns until they'll lend to me again. Or I have found a workaround. If one of my businesses makes enough, then I'll turn it into an S Corp and then pay myself as a W 2
Yeah,
so that I can qualify. But that's just for conventional loans. I think people forget that there's commercial loans. My hard money lender has a 30-year product. And so I've also used that as well. And so there's a ton of ways to finance a deal. You just have to find a deal that's good enough.
you just got to be creative and be a problem solver.
Mhm.
And I guess a lot of guys don't know this, but like, you do for a company, I mean, for a bank or anybody that wants to give you a conventional loan, right? You do need like a W-2 that gives you 2 years of work experience, right? And
You
sometimes you can
don't.
get uh
No. So
for
so
what I did is like I got a contract, right, that says I can work, that I'll be working for a certain amount of time. But
yep.
you really don't have like you can quit that job or you can advance to a different job that might be for 1 year, right? You just got to show some type of proof. But what were you about to say, Sarah?
I was going to say it's so cool actually if you do go to university, which I don't think everybody needs to, but if you do or go to college and when you graduate, you can get if you get a W2 job right after graduation, you can get a conventional owner occupied loan like on day 1 because they'll count your college as your 2 years of work experience.
Nice. And does that go for everything, even if you leave that job, I guess, or is it
Yeah.
just for that? Okay.
You know how many times I have closed on a property and I quit my job that next day.
Really?
Yeah, don't I hope my lender never hears this podcast.
So what gives you peace of mind whenever you're traveling about your properties that are like, okay, they're doing fine. I can go, do what I have to do, have fun, and not worry about
Yeah.
my properties.
here's the truth is you do worry about them.
Yeah.
Like I want like you guys, the ceiling of one of my properties fell to the floor 2 days ago. I'm here in Antigua, Guatemala, and I'm getting phone calls and text messages. And I'm just like, oh, that is not good. And I immediately call her, the tenant, to make sure she's okay. When she said, oh my God, we're fine, we're fine. I was like, phew, okay, I'll call you back. And then I text my plumber, I text my handyman, I text someone else. And then everyone was good. Like they went to the property the next day at 10 a.m. and everything's going to get resolved. And so you have a choice. Like I could have let that ruin my day and been really stressed out about it. Obviously I'm not like, yay, another problem. I'm still human and I'm still like, that kind of ruined my afternoon.
Yeah.
But then you make a decision. You're like, okay, money can fix anything. And because this property cash flows $900 a month and I'm really smart with my money, there's plenty of money in that bank account. So like, no matter what the repair is, there's money there to fix it.
Yeah. I guess what you're saying is like some type of like, it's also, it correlates with like Stoic philosophy, right? Where like, you gotta be just calm and collected. Like, does this affect you right now? Or is this like just in your mind, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
now that I studied it, I'm like, I look at it like back then, I'll probably be like my mom, right? Go all crazy over something that's small, like water spilled over, right? But like now, if I look at it, right, like for me, HVAC needs repairing like $15,000. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's like a message in my head. That's it, right? It goes through it. It comes in one ear, comes out the out, right? You don't have to go crazy. You don't gotta like stress all day for it. You just gotta just handle it. That's all you have to do.
Exactly.
And we're gonna ask the well, before that, what's your point of view on like crypto and stocks and other types of money making source? And please don't say anything about what is that one type of like currency, like the currency exchange? What is that called? What is that called again? Do you
I
guys
don't
know?
know. I don't know where you're going.
What do you guys what is that? It's like it's some type of scam. I hate it. It's like, yeah, because I fell for it, right? And I
Oh
just
no.
I fell for it because I was in a, I guess in a vulnerable spot where people were trying to, I guess it was my peers too, right? They were like, hey, you gotta do this like type of like currency change, right? I'm like,
Is it
okay,
Forex?
Forex, yes.
Yeah, Forex.
It was like Forex, right? And I was like, when I was doing it, I was like, this is a scam, like no matter what. And now I've been going to those like real estate meetings, right? And I hang around with the older people, right? And like I like when I would get excited for like someone new, like, hey, buy this a new insurance thing or whatever, blah, 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 blah. I see these old people, they're like, nah, it's just another scam. I'm like, wow, like I could learn from other people's like just faces, or like someone that has like just doesn't care about pleasing other people, right? They just care about are they saying are facts. So what is your opinion on like crypto stocks
Yeah,
or any of that
absolutely.
source?
I think if you can understand something that you're investing in, then you can invest in it. But if you don't understand how it works, then put your money somewhere else. And so I do invest in the stock market. I like diversification. I also like set it and forget it. So
Yeah.
if I can put some money there and make money and not have to do anything, I'm all about it. Do I have any crypto right now? I don't. Would I in the future? Yeah, I would.
Do you have any retirement funds as well?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Now, what kind of jobs did you have while you were basically, because I'm guessing you probably worked at every different country, I'm guessing, or you did like, could you quickly go by which jobs you had over time?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I taught English in South Korea, I moved back to the US and I became a real estate agent. And I was an agent for about a year before I realized that I really wanted to travel the world. And so I got a job working for a recruiting company where they did everything over Skype. And so I took that job with the understanding that I could live anywhere. And so I told her, I was like, I want to move to South America. I want to move to Colorado. I want to move to Europe. And she said, yep, you're hired. And so I actually had that job for almost 5 years. For 4.5 years, I worked for an American company, recruiting real estate admin and staff and helping real estate agents grow their business. And everything was on my computer. And so I was a digital nomad in 2015.
Nice. And
Yep.
before we get to the ending questions, right, we're going to do like a round robin between the guys on the panel to ask their own personal question.
Cool.
All right. We're going to start with Devin Hicks. Go ahead.
How you doing, Sarah?
Hey, Devin.
All right. So these are just questions I was thinking about during throughout the show. And my first question is, when you first started, or while you were building your brand or business, who did you really look for guidance or mentorship?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. It was less about like how many followers they had or what kind of industry they were in. I follow people I want a life like theirs. And so there's a woman in real estate who has an incredible marriage. She and her husband have so much freaking fun. She has kids, and her kids are not her entire life. She travels all the time with her friends. She cares about her health. She's fit as hell. And she runs 3 really successful businesses. And so that was the kind of person that I thought constantly, like, what kind of a decision would she make anytime I was making big decisions?
Nice.
Okay. And last one, for anyone looking to make passive income or start their own business, or just basically get out the rat race, what are
Mhm.
three quick habits that you can do, well, 3 important habits that you can inform them of to point them on the right direction to be successful?
Yeah. So I can think of 2 right away. One is delayed gratification. So
Okay.
while your friends are getting the nicer cars or the better outfits or moving to a better part of town, you can't have that lifestyle creep. You have to be okay with what you're being handed right now, so that you can stack money and put money into the business or into your investments. And so, like, everything that I do is delayed gratification. Like, could I go afford some of the things that I want? Absolutely. But I'm not allowing myself to do that yet because I still want more in my business before I go spend that money. And then the next would be, I think I've already mentioned it, but saving money is just like
Right.
absolutely key. So getting really good at that. And so learning how to track your finances, cut things where you can, I think is really important. And then the third one would be learn a new skill. Like,
Okay.
it keeps you really sharp, and it keeps you like not always thinking that you're always right. I think that seeing things from a different perspective is really important.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely.
We got Gabe next with his question. Go ahead, Gabe.
Okay, yeah. My question was, what are like some of the hard decisions you have to make on a daily basis with traveling and like real estate and everything all at the same time?
Yeah, sometimes you have to say no to things that you really want to say yes to. And so sometimes that is actually work opportunities. Lately, I've been asked to do some really cool stuff, work related. And I just frankly, like, I can't, like, I don't have the like, I would lose my sanity if I said yes to every opportunity that was coming. So I've been having to say no to a lot of things that frankly, I really want to say yes to. And then the other hard decision is, oh man, probably taking my own advice with saving money and delayed gratification. Like, those things are not sexy, you guys. Like, it's not super fun to be like, no, I can't have another round of drinks because I have to save money and I don't want to be hungover tomorrow because I have meetings all day tomorrow. Like, those kind of things aren't fun, but I promise you that that's like what gets you to where you're going.
Yeah. Sacrifices.
Sacrifices.
All right. David, go ahead with your question.
Hi, sir.
Hey, David.
So how do you stay focused on your test, and what's like your daily regimen?
Yeah. So anyone that travels with me will tell you that I don't have one. As far as like a daily regimen, every single day is so different. I also don't sleep very much, not because like I have insomnia, but I can like wake up at 4 and be like, okay, ready for the day. And so every day is a little bit different. And then the discipline, I really thank being a digital nomad for as long as I have, because back in 2015, like, I would stay in hostels and I would have to like report to work the next day on my laptop. And I was too frugal to like also go pay for a co-working space. And so I would literally be in the common space of a hostel, like having meetings. And it's really hard to say yes to a meeting when all your friends are going to the beach in the middle of the day. But I knew if I didn't show up for the meeting, I'd get fired, and that would keep me from having the lifestyle altogether. And so I definitely had to, it was discipline out of necessity.
Nice.
Also, do you have any unspoken mottos or like any rules you set for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. No, but I probably should. I think that's something that would be really interesting to a lot of people. So I'm not like a spreadsheet details organized type of person. I am a say yes and then figure out how to do it later type of person. And I think that that has led to a lot of my success, but also a lot of my frustration.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And Josh, go ahead.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to thank you for spending your time with us. We really appreciated that. That was pretty educational and interesting and fun. I did appreciate it. It's one of my favorite guest speakers so far. Thank you.
Nice.
Well, thanks,
Sami,
Josh.
Sami, do you have one as well? Or if he's here?
No, I'm good.
You're good. All right. I want to start with the last questions. All right, Sarah.
Sounds good.
So, what are your tips on being like remote, or how would you recommend to be a digital nomad like yourself?
So when I first like set out to do this, I was really intentional, you guys. I wrote in my journal, I will be location independent. And then I applied to 84 jobs. I had to have a spreadsheet. Like I said, I don't like spreadsheets, but I had to have a spreadsheet because there was no way I could keep them in order. But I was literally sending my resume off, copy and pasting cover letters, doing all of that. That was like basically my part-time job for a week and a half. And to my surprise, 8 days in, I got an interview with the company that I ended up working for 5 years.
Where'd you send your resumes at? Was it LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn and Indeed. Indeed's probably the best one these days.
Yeah. And for being remote, do you specifically say you want to be remote?
Yes,
much
I
as possible?
I only applied for jobs that you could be remote.
Nice.
And I guess another tip is if you live in Chicago, or let's pick a small town, let's say that you live in like a small town in Wisconsin, you don't need to look for remote jobs in Wisconsin. Like go look in the bigger cities, like look in LA, Denver, San Francisco, New York. And that's exactly what I did.
Nice. Now, if you can go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Like prior to 18, I would have told myself to like chill the F out. I was wound so tight. I was like an AP everything, AP statistics, AP Euro, AP
Hey,
everything.
That's I'm
And
just like that.
and like, oh my gosh, if she could see like how cool my 20s were and like how much fun I had and all the crazy things that I did, I mean, she literally wouldn't believe it. And so if I could go back and like hug my 16-year-old self, it would be like, chill out, take the stick out of your ass. You're going to have a lot of fun and like the money will come. I think I was so worried that I'd never have money.
Okay. And will you just tell your younger self to calm down? Everything will be all right. Is there anything that you would like to tell your future self?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I hope my future self lets go of some of the frugality that I like gathered during my 20s. Like now is the time for me to spend some money on myself and my health and like my joy. And so like hiring like an incredible person to join my team to make my life easier is really the next step for my business.
All right. And what would you say the secret sauce is in being successful in your own terms? The one secret sauce.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, Devin, your question, like to entrepreneurs, this is something that came up. So same answer is don't listen to the noise. Like everyone's telling you like invest in crypto, like go wholesale. Like if like those are not for you, then like put on your noise canceling headphones sometimes when people are talking about things that do not matter to you. Like for example, like I'm from the Midwest. And so like everyone in their 20s were like, are you dating anyone? Are you dating anyone? And every time I'm like, guys, no, I'm like building an empire and I've traveled to 40 countries in the last 10 years. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing such cooler things than like dating some farmer in Kansas. Like stop asking me about my dating life. Plus I can't tell you like half the stories. So.
Oh man.
Maybe another time, Sarah. You should write a book about it. It might be really interesting. Traveling around the world.
I'd have
Yeah.
to put like a pseudo name.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you all dibs on it. And what is your tip for those that are just starting out? That one tip. All right. You can only give one tip. If you have
Mhm.
if your dying breath. All right. You can only give one tip to those that are that you want to that wants to be successful or whatever. Right. Actually not successful. Just like that one tip. Go ahead.
Mhm. Stop complaining.
Mm,
That's good.
Like,
yeah.
life is hard, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. I want to complain all the time. And I'm sure my friends will be like, oh, Sarah does. I do complain, but it doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve anyone around me. Like life is so much better when I'm like, it's okay. Everything's fine.
hmm
And then eventually you're like, life is good. Like life is so good. All of the problems, like that text message where the ceiling fell through,
Mhm.
like how cool that that's a problem that I get to solve because I've built like a massive real estate portfolio.
Yeah.
hmm
Nice. So you see the positives of it instead of the negative, right? Look at
Mm.
yourself from an outside perspective. You get to be basically how I see it is like I like a lot of people to say I'd rather have rich people problems than poor people problems, right? So I guess having that type of mindset where like, listen, you're pretty well off, right? Look at what you're doing right now. You probably your
Yeah.
younger self or whoever, right? You might be proud of you or whatever.
Yeah.
And
If you don't like your life, change it.
yeah. And what quote do you live by? If you have a quote, or you could think of any quote.
Yeah. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Nice. I agree with that one. 100%. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
hmm
And again, all readers are not leaders, but all leaders are readers. So what books would you recommend for certain situations, right? Whether it's real estate, self-improvement, traveling, whatever.
Yeah.
Splash them all out.
Yep. So The Defining Decade by I think Dr. Meg something. The Defining Decade absolutely was a game changer. So absolutely read that book. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
I have it right here.
And
It's right here.
there you go. Have you read it? Have you read it yet?
I got a whole library out here. But yeah, keep
Yeah.
going.
Have you read it yet?
Yeah, I have. I have been reading like the first like 20 pages, right? And it's pretty good so far.
It's really good.
Yeah.
That's probably that's my favorite book to gift. Because of a lot of people, I'm impressed. A lot of people haven't read it.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good one. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And then for real estate investing, Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth was a game changer for me.
Nice. I gotta get that last one. That's
a-
nice. And last question. If you could recommend people to travel somewhere and do one activity there, what would it be?
Talk to the locals. Even
Talk-
if you need to pay for a translator, like talk to the locals.
Is there a certain place that you recommend people to go?
Ooh, gosh. I mean, I've been to 44 countries on 6 continents, and there's not very many places I wouldn't recommend going. And so what I recommend is if you there's a place that you can't stop thinking about, just like go there. Like stop thinking about it and go visit.
Nice. You know what? That's a good idea because I always put it back in my head like, hey, I want to go to this place or I want to get this certain tattoo while I'm at this place, right? It's like it's always in your head, right? So I like that. Yeah, just go do what is always in the back of your head, like that keeps on calling you.
So okay, well, now I have to ask, where do you want to go and what tattoo do you want?
Oh, I just want to go to Japan so I can get like a nice like samurai whatever tattoo there because it's more
Yeah.
authentic over there. And the way that they make their tattoos is like really painful, right? Even though I don't want the pain, it's just more like it's more authentic, right? So whenever I go, that's what I plan to do, like travel and get like a certain tattoo there that probably says something, or like get a tattoo that that probably says like what that story was, right? Because I know a lot of people they get tattoos that for random stuff. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it that way. I see it like it symbolizes a story, what you did there, right? It's something fun.
Yeah.
That's what-
Please just don't get a 4-leaf clother if you go
Oh,
to
no.
Ireland.
No, I'm not planning on doing that. But yeah, Sarah, where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, the best place is Instagram. You can find me at Sarah D. Weaver.
Nice, nice. And we thank you, Sarah, for coming here. And yeah, thank you.
You're so
Yeah,
welcome,
thank
you
you,
guys.
Sarah. Thank
Awesome. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.